My name is John Passfield, and the title of this reading will be John and Mother Goose, Video 24, Anthems. Here is my novella, John and Mother Goose, The Carnival of Tales. John and Mother Goose on the cover, surrounded by characters from the nursery rhymes who act in the Carnival of Tales. While driving his granddaughter home from daycare, John suddenly finds himself standing in the midway of a carnival of Mother Goose fairy tales he created by Jack, of Jack and Jill fame, who tells John that Mother Goose is expecting him, as she has a role for him to play. But what does Mother Goose want? Why does she think John is a writer of detective stories? And why, when she meets John, does she greet him as an almost long-lost son? For that matter, why do so many of the fairy tale characters have different stories that they want John to write for them instead of the ones in which they have lived for hundreds of years? John is not a mythical creature. He's only human, after all. But can he save the Mother Goose Carnival? Can he solve the mystery of the vanishing fairy tales? Well, our topic is anthems. So, anthems are statements of belief. Anthems tend to summarize the essence of a topic. The most common use of the term anthem concerns the national anthem of a country, but many groups to which one can belong have a song or a verse which summarizes their essence. Cheerleaders chant anthems to encourage support from the crowd at sporting events. Well, how about personal anthems, verses that summarize a particular aspect of the life experience of the main character of a fictional work of art? If the thought and the emotion that the author presents is complex, then the anthem will probably be presented in the language of imagery. There are 4 anthems in this novella, and each has 5 verses. So let's have a look then at these 4 anthems. We'll start with the first one on page 4. Okay, page 4. Anthem number 1. Grandfather Mouse was feeling sad. Through all his life, he had felt quite glad. Then we go to page 8 for the second verse. The moving men were coming today to take Grandfather Mouse's furniture away. Then page 15. Now we're jumping pages because these anthems are interlayered with the story of John's situation as he meets Mother Goose. All of Grandfather Mouse's friends and family were gone. It was time for Grandfather Mouse to move on. And then we go to page 23 for another verse. Here we are. Grandfather Mouse lived in a wall in a house. It had been a good life for the aging mouse. And then page 31 for the 5th and final verse. Into a sack, Grandfather Mouse stuffed his clothes. He threw the sack over his shoulder and walked down the road. Now I'll talk about these in a moment, but I'll just say now that they are spread out because they interlayer with the story that John is living through. So Anthem 2 on page 5. Let's look at those 5 verses. Antipus Aardvark's life had always been quite pleasant, although he dined on ants rather than on pheasant. We go to page 10. Ants to Antipus Aardvark were quite delicious, and a bonus was that, he assumed, they were quite nutritious. Page 18. But one day, Antipus Aardvark saw 2 ants walking together, and he wondered whether they were a daughter and a mother. Page 25. If an ant were hurrying home, sorry, I started that line again. If an ant were hurrying home to its family, being eaten would be an Antipus-made catastrophe. And then page 34. His body grew thin as Antipas aardvark continued to brood. He would die if he didn't find an alternative source of food. Okay, Anthem 3 is on page 41. So there are 2 in the first half of the novella and 2 in the second half. So let's go to page 41 then. Here we are. If Scarlet Ibis considered the wildebeest to be her friends, they would meet at the watering holes again and again. And page 49. Thousands of wildebeests would arrive to drink their fill. Thousands of ibises would arrive and spear fish with their bills. Then 58. If Scarlet Ibis scoured the sky in search of rain, she wondered whether the precipitation would ever come again. 65. Thousands of wildebeest arrived at the shrinking watering hole. Thousands of ibises arrived to wade and spear fish with their bills. And then 70, the fifth and final verse. These wildebeests only think of themselves, thought of Scarlet Ibis. They don't leave any water for anyone else, which causes a crisis. So circumstances can alter the way we think of others, I'm sure. Page 43. To start the next one. Anthem number 4. Our history is a proud one, thought Grignel de Grasse. We drink the nutrients and only take what we need. 52. Our history is a proud one, thought and Leapster Antelope. We graze the grass and take only what we need. 60. Lemine Lion crouched as a herd of antelope ran by. We hunt the antelope and take only what we need. Then page 66. Meat and bones festered in the scorching, fetid breeze. A pack of hyenas chewed and yelped and scratched their fleas. And the fifth verse of the fourth anthem. Our history is a proud one, thought his scavenger hyena. We are the only ones who keep the planet clean. So who is helping the planet and who is hurting the planet is a good question. Now, I said that the most common kind of anthem is the national anthem. Almost everyone in the world has a national anthem. I find myself either singing mine or listening to my national anthem being sung whenever there's a major event, such as a sports event, on television. For the most part, the national anthem, though it might have visual imagery, such as majestic mountains and waving wheat fields, is a fairly clear statement of belief. It's a statement of agreed-upon belief by the citizens of a country as to what that country stands for at its most ideal. But what if you were to write an alternative anthem for your country? Well, you don't have to be a poet in order to do so. Your alternative national anthem could be a series of small stories. If you make up an alternative national anthem, it could have 4 or 5 small stories as its verses, and each of these verses could then be placed beside the original national anthem as a measuring device. The question then would be, how close to the ideal that is presented in the national anthem of one's country are the stories that you have chosen to place side by side with this ideal national anthem? Excuse me. Well, either the stories would be fairly close to the ideal, or suggest that the state of the nation is one that is on the right road towards the ideal, or these stories could suggest something quite different, something darker, something negative about how close to or how far away from the ideal one's country is. Well, that's basically how the anthems work inside the individual mind. Whatever the ideal situation, whatever the ideal path that the main character is on, these anthems, these story verses, are measuring devices by which the main character assesses and evaluates his past, his present, and his desired or feared future. So, let us hope that whether or not the reader notices or pays attention to these little verses or not, the main character is intensely aware of them and their function at some level of his or her consciousness, as they are the compasses, the mental compasses of his or her journey. So anthems are mental compasses. This is my novella, John and Mother Goose, The Carnival of Tales. It's found on Amazon. If you want more information, it's found on my publisher's website, roxmillspress.com. For more information, at my website, johnpassville.ca, there are 2 free books, a planning notebook in which I plan and write the novel, and a reflective journal in which I think about all the topics that the writing of that novel or novella suggests as I'm polishing that novel or novella. So for this one, have a look at johnpassville.ca. Lastly, thank you for watching this video.